Right, so I know most of you think I make videos just to make videos because I'm some kind of psychopath, but I'm actually trying to help you guys out, and it also helps me remember how I did things when I have to do them later. So these are the Schrockworks rock sliders for the Rubicon Jeep truck. Not Rubicon. Actually, it might fit the Rubicon too, but anyways, these are for my Sport. I think these do also fit the Rubicon. So the problem is the Jeep has very little rocker protection and like for the doors and stuff, because this particular Jeep is so long, that's where it gets the most abuse I found off-road. So I had put some steps on it previously that mounted to the factory step locations, which are on the body, and they were getting really beat up. They weren't high enough clearance and they're not strong enough for what I was doing with them, so I'm upgrading to these. There's only a few options for the Jeep that actually bolt directly to the frame. Some do bolt to the frame body mounts, but not really to the frame. So obviously these are probably overkill. They wrap around the frame, all kinds of stuff like that. Super beefy. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is install them. So these are the old ones I had on there. Like I said, they were steps. They drop down. Not really good for holding the weight of the truck because you're putting the support on the body. Here's one of them already installed. Not completely installed because I'm not sure how to mount the back of it. They came with no instructions, so I'm making this video to help you guys because you're gonna need these. You're probably gonna want some instructions because they're kind of confusing. So to try to figure out which side goes on which, the longest piece goes on the back, the longest pole. And then once you realize that, you know, obviously it's gonna come up, so that tells you which is the left and the right. That's not too big of a deal. They didn't label them or anything like that. You can figure that out pretty quickly. The long piece, see these are short, long piece in the back. Okay, got it. Then you got to install a bunch of these nut brackets, that's what I call them, into the frame. There's two. Again, no instructions, so it's kind of a puzzle for me to figure out this. So this one, which is an L, goes here. The stud comes out here, the bolt goes in the bottom. You can find it by these holes, and it also will line up with the rock slider. The next one is a flat bar with two nuts. Basically, I figured out where it goes by just finding the right distance between two holes I could bolt it to. So this holds the bracket in place, and then your bolt for the slider goes in there. This side's pretty easy because you can hold on to this tab to start this bolt. This hole is not on the other side of the frame. So on the other side, you really had to fish it from all the way back here and do all kinds of crazy stuff. I fished it through with a piece of trailer wire, just tied a hole, fed it through there, pulled it out there, tied a knot, and when I pulled it against it, it held it in place, and I was able to hold this and get the bolt started. So before you put the rock slider up here, get these started. It's slotted to go around these. This one you actually have to have the bolt out, but this will hold it in place. So those two mounts aren't that bad. Now, what you'll realize is on the other side, you know, it mounts here and it mounts here. On the other side, this gas tank skid plate is using this hole. So to get it in there, you have to drop the gas tank skid plate down a little bit, and it goes between the two. So that's kind of a pain in the ass. And in doing that, you have to loosen up all of these bolts that hold these other skid plates and stuff. Well, when I did that, the nut broke off the frame inside of here, so this one just free spins, so I have no way to torque it back down. So I'm gonna have to cut it off, fish a nut through there, put a bolt and nut, huge pain in the ass. That's kind of Jeep's fault. Okay. And for the back mount, they want you to drill and tap two holes into your frame and put two of these big bolts threaded into your frame. Now the frame's thick, but it's not really thick enough to tap a bolt into, in my opinion. So I'm probably just gonna weld the rear. That way I won't drill holes in my frame, and also it'll be stronger. Don't really want to weld on my brand new 2021, but hey, it is what it is. You gotta do. So I'm probably gonna weld the rear. I wish they would have been smart and had a bracket that wrapped around like they did in the front, because there's a bolt on the skid plate you can use on that side, and you can put a nut under here. If they had a bracket like this size, right, where it kind of came onto the bottom. So I don't know why they decided to do that different on the rear. Oh, let me show you what I'm talking about. Oh, the tractor with forks makes it really helpful to hold the rock slider in place while you're bolting everything in, because they're kind of heavy. It's a two-person job if you don't have forks. Yeah, so these bolt on the bottom and top of the frame. It's your front mount. There's your middle mount. But for some reason, this one's just flat. If they'd have made it like an L again, there is a bolt hole they could have used there. So I don't know what they were smoking when they designed this back one, but it is a very pretty well fabricated piece of metal. I like the welds, like the powder coat, whatever. I just wish they had designed this back mount better. Really pisses me off. No instructions and no hardware, but I called them and they're like, oh yeah, sorry, we shipped the hardware separate. They mailed it to me, no big deal. Came in a few days. But these two bolt holes back here, you see one, two, they there's no holes in the frame. So yeah, you gotta drill some big holes in your frame. They're really beefy and stuff, but the install is a pain in the ass, and no instructions, and I didn't know I had to do all that. And they're pretty crooked. So yeah, I don't love them, and they don't even hide that ugly lip. That was kind of the point of all this, was to hide that. Yes, they're strong. Yes, they got really good protection, but I would probably go with a different one, knowing what I know now. So I'll let you know how the rest of the install goes. About to start drilling holes in the frame on my brand new truck. But I kind of figured out, you know, there's a bracket back there, those two, and then there's a bracket out there, and then you use the bolt for the skid plate there, and the skid plate has to kind of bend around it. Not a huge deal. My question is, do you really expect me to drill 2 holes in the frame of my brand new truck? Question number 1. Question number 2, obviously my finger fits here, and it's tighter there, and it doesn't fit there at all. So they seem to be a little crooked. I know the body of the Jeep actually kind of goes up a little bit, so maybe that's by design, but if you look at it from this angle right here, it looks pretty stupid, right? Because you can see all the little pop welds and then you can't see them. So I'm not a big fan of that at all. So please advise what the procedure is to mount that back one, because obviously you do need it. It's a little flimsy without it. This is the hardware I have left for the other side and to mount the back one. So obviously I know what all this does now. And I assume, you know, 2 of these bolts go in the back somewhere, but there's no more nuts or anything. So am I supposed to drill and tap the frame? What's the intention here?